just gonna start from the beginning, kind of getting in between colors right now because I haven't been in the sun that much, but this is the tan. This is the one that I normally use, and it looks too dark when I first start to put it on. It blends in and adjusts to my skin tone. So I like this one because it's a moisturizer, a sunscreen. It's a 50 sunblock. So this is the color tan. Okay, so then what I do, that's the Xanadu bronzer that you have. If I'm really struggling with my dark circles, I will use that Xanadu bronzer anywhere that there is light spots under the eye, like just to add in. So I darken my under eye because it helps diminish the appearance of the dark circles. Sometimes the dark circles look so dark because there's a light areas right next to them. And so if you just add a little, if you darken it just a smidge, and these are real concentrated and it's real creamy, so it can feel like, oh my gosh, I've overused it, but they blend away so easily because they are creamy. You can just blend it away. So don't panic if you get some on. And if you look at this and you're like, oh my gosh, that's way too dark for me, there's different ways you can use it. You can take it with your finger and dot it on and then blend it with your brush, just like a fluffy brush, and just kind of tap, tap, tap. Because if you rub too much, you're gonna rub it right off, like it'll disappear. But see how that. So I like to use this bronzer on the high points of my face. I just kind of dip it in there and I'll tap, 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 kind of up on my forehead in the areas where the sunshine would naturally hit you first and give you color. So there's a little brush that I'll take and I will kind of tap that in for my, I use the Xanadu for like a sun-kissed look to add a little color, especially if I feel really like washed out. I will use it on my cheeks. You can use it actually as a blush. I usually add in a little bit of blush color as well, but this just, it makes me feel like it's more dimensional, like it shows some dimension in the face, so it's not just all one flat color. So, I mean, sometimes if I didn't need the sunscreen from the tinted sunscreen, I would just lightly tap or brush on the bronzer and go. Like if I was in a hurry and I just wanted to kind of liven up my skin a little bit, that's what I would do. This is Madrid, yes. So this is the one I've been using a lot lately. So you can kind of just tap it on and blend it with your brush. And don't be afraid when you go to use it if you're like, oh my gosh, it's so dark. Like the blush is so dark because they're super creamy and they blend really easy. So I like to put that Madrid or any blush color kind of on top of my cheekbone and kind of bring it up into the temple a little bit. Usually, again, I'm lazy, so I just like go right in there with it, get on my brush, and then just tap it in. And then I will kind of maybe sometimes do a little here. That is the blush color, and it doubles as a lip color. So, and you can put it on your eyes. So, and it's the same with the Xanadu bronzer. A lot of times I will just take that bronzer, and it's super pigmented and super creamy. So you have to be like light-handed with it or just be prepared to blend. So it looks good in the crease to give some dimension. And you can kind of just blend it out. Actually, the Xanadu bronzer would be a really good color for you too because of your eye color. The color corrector. I give you this one. It's O1. So these are cream correctors, and they can be used anywhere that you're struggling with redness, veins, and dark circles. So sometimes I just use my finger, get a little bit, and tap it onto the darkness if you have any darkness under your eye. And because it has a little bit of orange tint to it, very slight, it cancels out any blue, which is usually the base color that is in the dark circle. So I usually, in the wintertime, I use the O1. In the summertime, there's a darker orange one that I use because my skin is a little bit darker, but it's the same. It just, one's a little bit darker than the other. So this is O3, and it's the one that I normally use. So it's just not quite as light and bright, but it does the same. And I should have showed you the color corrector before I put, because you can put the color corrector on if you have redness before you put your tinted sunscreen. And I can't see without my 10 times magnifying mirror. So I'm trying to do this on my phone. I can't really see what I'm doing, but I normally have like a vein on my cheek. And if you just kind of tap just the tiniest amount, it does not take much at all of that O1, it cancels out the blue tones, which is normally what it is the undertone in the veins or the blemishes or dark circles. Most always have that blue undertone to it. Even when it looks red to your eye, it's the blue that's creating the color. So the orange cancels that out, the orange that's in this O1. So I just kind of tap that on, and then you can just kind of blend by tapping. You don't want to rub it because it's going to rub off, but you have to just kind of play around with it. And I would play around with that O1 when you don't have anything on your face, and use either your finger to just barely tap it on and let it sit for, just a second, because it kind of, the warmth from your skin, it kind of helps to meld it together. And then you can kind of tap around it to blend with a brush. So play around with that, because you could actually go in and barely tap your makeup brush like this and kind of tap it over if you have a lot of redness on your cheeks that you're wanting to cancel out, or like sometimes I get it around my nose, and you just tap that on and it's gonna neutralize that, cancel out that redness, and then you can apply your tinted sunscreen or foundation right over the top. A lot of times, if I have a lot of redness, I will correct a little bit before I put my foundation on, but sometimes I just go in, like today, I already put it on, and then if I see any areas that need correcting, then I address those areas that are showing through the foundation, and it doesn't take much at all. The other good thing about this O1 is if you don't want to wear any eyeshadow or anything, it makes a good primer if you were going to wear eyeshadow, because it will help it to stay on all day, and it gives the color a little more vibrancy. But by itself, if you just tap that and then tap it on your eye, it will even out the skin tone on your eye, because a lot of times, we'll have like our veins will show through, and we'll have kind of discolorations that can create shadows and darkness or unevenness. And so this O1 works super, super well just on the eyelid. Like sometimes I won't wear any eyeshadow, won't wear anything on my eye. I will tap that in around my darkness, and I will tap it in on my eyelid, because it just creates such a nice even skin tone and a brightness to your eye without really looking or feeling like you have anything on. So start with less, because it's so easy to overuse it. It's so concentrated, and it takes such a tiny, tiny amount. So like I literally will just, you know, barely tap it in and you're getting some on there. And if you put too much under your eye, well, if I put too much under my eye, I will start to see the product, or it will, you know, start to cake up. That's just from overuse. As long as you're not applying too much product, you're not going to see it. And I'll just tap it with the brush to kind of clean it up. A lot of people will use a sponge. You can use a wet makeup sponge and kind of tap over it at the end if you feel like there's too much and you need to pick up any excess or even it out. I don't even bother with that because I'm too lazy. So the Xanadu bronzer can be used on your lips, on your cheeks, on your eyes for eyeshadow, all over for a bronzer. It can be used to help color correct unevenness. Just don't be afraid of it, because I mean, if you just like, if you really like dab into it and then you start to put it on, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, it's so dark. But as long as you have a good makeup brush and you just keep tapping and blending, it's not scary. It'll blend, I promise. So don't be afraid to play around with it. Don't be intimidated by it. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. This is really long. So anyway, okay, let me know what you think.